So what is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, where today we are talking about Classified. Classified is the 4th zombies map that we are getting in Black Ops 4, and it is a remake of 5. The Pentagon is returning back to BO4 zombies. We haven't seen it since Black Ops 1 in 2010, but it's coming back with a twist, with a new story, a new set of characters, and so that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. As always, if you enjoy, smash that like button, make sure you are subbed, and also click that bell notification icon as well. But without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. So yesterday at E3, there was a panel that Treyarch had, and it was for them to have the chance to talk a little bit more about Black Ops 4. There was a tiny bit of information on the multiplayer, but most of this was about the zombies. They spoke about some gameplay mechanics, some changes they had in the game, a tiny bit about our new maps IX and Voyage of Despair, and also Blood of the Dead, but nothing really too new. However, I am going to make a video on the new perk system and a few other changes in game, so look out on my channel for that. But something very interesting they talked about, which is also the topic of this video, was the 4th zombies map, Classified. We already kind of figured that this map was coming just a few days before. It was revealed by Activision that you can buy a Black Ops pass, and within this there is a 4th zombies map that's going to be available on day 1, and it's called Classified. And if you take a look inside of the A on the Classified logo, there is a Pentagon. That was our first hint that 5 could be returning, since 5 is set in the Pentagon. Also the word Classified, which more than likely is the name of this map, again links into 5. So we did kind of have clues that it was returning, but it's now being confirmed. So Jason Lundell told us that Classified is set in the Pentagon. However, this time we won't be playing as JFK, McNamara, Richard Nixon and Fidel Castro. Instead, we'll be playing as the original Ultimates crew. That's Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, how they were originally. Not their younger versions, but their older versions. And this map's going to set up all of the craziness that happened in 5. It's going to tell us why it happened, how it got there. It's basically going to be a new take on that part of the story. And that's very interesting, because as far as we know, this was never mentioned in the Canorium, but the Ultimates characters never travelled to 5. Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey have never been there. Obviously 5 is set in the Pentagon, which is the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense. Richtofen was a member of Group 935. He was also working alongside the Nazis to provide them with an undead army and wonder weapons. So why would Takeo, Nikolai, Dempsey and Richtofen be in the Pentagon? Also, like I said, this event was never mentioned in the Canorium. Since we see the Canorium from Richtofen's perspective, and this book contains everything that involves Richtofen, well, surely if he'd have been there, that bit of information about him being at the Pentagon would have been included in this book, but it isn't. So what exactly is going on? Well, he said that this map sets up all of the craziness that happened in 5. It tells us why and how it happened. And if that's the case, if this new map sets up 5, then that must mean that Classified takes place before 5. The Ultimates crew must have gone there before the events at 5 happened, not after. That's the only way they could be setting up before that map. So that means this must have happened before Moon, before Shangri-La, and also before Ascension. However, we do know that 5 and Ascension take place at the same time. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, if we go over to the Ascension poster, we realise that Richtofen is missing from this poster. He isn't on there. Instead, we have Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, and also Gersh, who was the bald guy. We were also told in the new radio for the new remake that we had for Ascension, Dr. Monty said that Richtofen went missing for a little while. He went off on a journey on his own, he went somewhere else, we don't know where, and he left Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey along with Gersh. He left those characters to fight alongside each other for a little while, whilst Richtofen was missing. And we know that when Richtofen finally returned to Ascension, when we play that map, he returns wearing some kind of spacesuit, or hazard suit. We don't exactly know what this suit is, but for some reason Richtofen is wearing it in Ascension, whereas the rest of the characters, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, are wearing their normal clothes. So clearly wherever Richtofen went, whatever he did, it was obviously something suspicious, and also must have been something important that he never has mentioned. Even until this day, we don't know where Richtofen went. Well, what if his journey was him traveling to the Pentagon? What if he did go to 5? And that's where this map classified takes place. Just before Ascension, where Richtofen goes off on his own journey, he could have travelled to 5 to have done something. The only problem is that we were told by Jason Blundell we are going to classified with the Ultimus crew, which also means Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey. Well, we know that Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey were fighting alongside Gersh. They didn't go with Richtofen. So how are the rest of the characters gonna be at 5 with him if that's where he went? Well, actually, if you also take a look at the new Revelations loading screen, you will notice on here we have Takeo, Nikolai, Dempsey and Richtofen at the house, but there is a problem. It is the Origins version of Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, but they're with the Ultimus version of Richtofen. Why is the Ultimus Richtofen with the Primus, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey in the Revelations loading screen? It doesn't make sense. So could that also link into Classified, and maybe the Ultimus Richtofen went to 5 with the Primus versions of Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey that we see here? Could that be the case? Obviously there's gotta be a reason why we're seeing them in this loading screen, and as we can see, if they've gone to Revelations together, well, there's a good chance they could have gone to other locations together as well, and one of them could have been 5. So in this map classified, we could be playing as Primus, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, but with Ultimus Richtofen. Why exactly they would have gone here, we don't know, but as we were told by Jason, this map's gonna set up 5. So clearly it takes place before 5 happened, but in this map we're gonna learn exactly why and how all of those events later on went down. It's a new and a different take on the story, and if that's the case, that's extremely interesting. But you know what, for a second let's just say, okay, that has nothing to do with this new map. Obviously we don't know that, but let's just say it doesn't, and we are going there with all of the Ultimus crew. This map is a precursor to 5, so it still happens before. Well, there's still the question, what reason would Takeo, Nikolai, Dempsey and Richtofen have had to have gone to 5? Why would they have needed to have gone here? Well, we know that in the original timeline, after the zombie outbreak happened at Darice and Group 935 was abandoned, both the Russians and the Americans started to hire former Group 935 scientists. The Ascension group hired some, and also the Pentagon hired some as well. We know that Richtofen is a former Group 935 scientist, so could that have something to do with it? Did the Pentagon possibly hire Richtofen to help them out? Did he also end up bringing his test subjects, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, along with him? We also know that the Pentagon stole Group 935's research. They stole their teleporters, they stole their 115 equipment and began to create their own versions of the undead and their own versions of the wonder weapons. Maybe Richtofen and the crew are here to stop the Pentagon from doing that. Maybe they're here to retrieve their 115 weaponry, or stop the Pentagon from creating the teleporters and their own versions of the undead. Maybe by doing that, does that have something to do with helping Monty's perfect universe, or preventing the undead outbreak happening even further? I don't know why Richtofen would have wanted to have done that, since we know his Ultimus version was evil and his ultimate goal was to take control of the zombies, but that could be a possible reason. We also know that in 5 there was actually 2 different outcomes. Originally in the original timeline in Dimension 63, all 4 of the 5 characters, JFK, Mick Nanara, Richard Nixon and Fidel Castro, they all survive. The Chronorium tells us that on November the 6th of 1963, in the Pentagon, John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon and Robert McNamara meet with Fidel Castro in the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Due to the events at the Cosmodrome, which is Ascension, a zombie outbreak occurs. Samantha sends Yuri to the Pentagon to thwart their survival, and after Gersh is freed and the Ultimus crew depart from the Cosmodrome, the outbreak at the Pentagon ends and all 4 survive. So in the original timeline, all 4 of the characters survive. However, we also learn in the Chronorium that there is a fractured version of the 5 timeline. Just like in Zombies Chronicles, we had our remade maps that are all fractured versions of their own timelines, hence why the maps are slightly different. Well, in this fractured version, it says again on November the 6th, 1963, which is the same date as the original timeline. Well, in this one, it reads, hiding in a closet at the Pentagon, McNamara records a message confirming that JFK, Richard Nixon and Fidel Castro have died. As a result of the zombie outbreak, he dies moments later. So in this timeline, the characters die, whereas in the original timeline, they survive. Well, the question is, in which timeline are we going to 5? Is it going to take place in the original where the characters survive? Is it going to take place in this fractured one where the characters live? Is it going to take place in a totally new universe where a different outcome happens? Since we were told that it's a new take on the storyline, that it's a new part of the story, well, that could very well mean that it takes place in a totally different universe. That could also mean then that there's a totally different Easter egg, there's a totally different ending. The only problem I have with that is that Jason said that this map sets up all of the craziness in 5. It tells us why it happened and how it got there. If that's the case, then surely this map's got to take place in the original timeline. If it's setting up the original 5, then it's got to take place in the original timeline, right? But a lot of things here don't add up. And this, in my opinion, is so interesting. Jason wouldn't tell us exactly when in the timeline it takes place. Like I said, is it before Ascension? Is it even further back? Is it before Kino der Toten? Is it even further back, maybe during Derice time? We really don't know. It's gotta be before 5, since this leads up to the events that happened in that map, but exactly when, we're not sure. Like I said, remember, in Ascension, Richtofen did go missing for some time. We also see his Ultimus self with the Primus crew in the Revelations loading screen, so could that have something to do with it? Could we be playing as the Ultimus Richtofen with the Primus, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey in Classified? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed the video. If you have, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed. This is so exciting. Click that bell notification icon as well, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.